Top 10 strangest classic trucks you won't believe exist. At some point in trucking history, engineers stopped asking, "Will this sell?" and started asking something far more dangerous. What happens if we build it anyway? These weren't concept sketches. They weren't forgotten drawings. These were real trucks, designed, manufactured, and driven, even though some of them looked like they came from an alternate timeline. Trucks with engines in the wrong place. Trucks shaped like buildings. Trucks that solved problems no one else dared to touch. Today, we're counting down 10 of the strangest classic trucks ever built. Machines that confused drivers, challenged engineers, and quietly changed the industry forever. And truck number one? It didn't just look strange. It redefined what a truck was even allowed to be. Ranked 10th, International Harvester Metro. In the years after World War II, America wasn't obsessed with speed or style. It was obsessed with delivery. Cities were growing fast, storefronts were multiplying, and businesses needed a truck that could do one thing well: move goods through tight streets every single day. That's where the International Harvester Metro came in. At first glance, it barely looks like a truck at all. The body is tall, flat, and boxy, more like a rolling metal room than a vehicle. There's no dramatic hood, no aggressive grille, no sense of motion even when it's parked. And that was entirely the point. The Metro was designed from the inside out. A walk-in cargo area, low step-in height, straight walls for stacking crates. Drivers could stand upright, move quickly, and make dozens of stops without climbing in and out of a traditional cab. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't fast, but it worked. That strange upright shape, so easy to dismiss today, quietly became the blueprint for an entire category of trucks. From bread vans to postal vehicles, the Metro proved that efficiency could beat aesthetics. And that's what makes it strange. Not because it failed, but because something that looks so wrong to us now was once the smartest truck on the road. Ranked 9th, Chevrolet COE. For decades, American trucks followed one simple rule: put the engine in front and the driver behind it. The Chevrolet COE broke that rule completely. Instead of a long hood, the driver sat directly above the engine. No nose, no buffer, just steel, heat, and vibration beneath the cab. From the outside, it looked abrupt, almost unfinished. From the driver's seat, it felt even stranger. Why would Chevrolet build something like this? The answer was space. By stacking the cab over the engine, the COE shortened the truck dramatically while keeping the same cargo length. That meant tighter turns, easier city maneuvering, and better use of limited urban streets. Exactly what post-war America was struggling with. On paper, it made perfect sense. In reality, it was brutal. The cab ran hot. Noise poured straight through the floor. Maintenance meant tilting or removing the entire cab just to reach the engine. And in a collision, there was almost nothing between the driver and whatever came next. Drivers tolerated it. Fleets used it, but nobody loved it. Eventually, American trucking returned to long-nosed designs, prioritizing comfort and safety over compactness. The Chevrolet COE wasn't strange because it was useless. It was strange because it asked drivers to accept a compromise they never truly wanted. Ranked 8th, Kenworth Bullnose. In the 1940s, most trucks were built to look tough. Sharp lines, flat panels, pure function. Kenworth went the opposite direction. The Bullnose arrived with a rounded, almost soft-looking front end, a design that felt more automotive than industrial. To some, it looked elegant. To others, it looked completely wrong for a working truck. But that strange nose wasn't about style alone. Kenworth believed smoother curves could improve airflow, reduce wind resistance, and make long-haul driving less fatiguing. It was an early attempt to blend comfort, efficiency, and identity into a machine that usually ignored all three. On the road, reactions were mixed. Drivers appreciated the ride and visibility. Fleet mechanics did not. That curved front made repairs harder, parts more specialized, and access more frustrating than the boxy trucks of the era. What looked refined on the outside became complicated under the skin. Still, the Bullnose earned respect, not because it was practical, but because it dared to be different in a conservative industry. Today, collectors love it, not for what it did best, but for what it tried to become. The Kenworth Bullnose wasn't strange because it failed. It was strange because it hinted at a future truck design wasn't ready to accept yet. Ranked 7th, Chevrolet Corvair 95 pickup. In the early 1960s, Chevrolet made a decision that still feels upside down today. They took a pickup truck and put the engine in the back. The Corvair 95 pickup shared its DNA with the Corvair passenger car, using a rear-mounted air-cooled flat-six engine. On paper, it sounded innovative. A flat cargo floor, better traction with weight over the rear wheels, compact size for urban work. In reality, it felt unfamiliar in every possible way. With the engine behind the axle, weight distribution changed dramatically depending on whether the bed was empty or loaded. Unloaded, the front felt light. Loaded, the handling shifted unpredictably. For drivers used to traditional front-engine trucks, it was unsettling. Maintenance didn't help either. Air-cooled engines were uncommon in American trucks, and mechanics weren't trained to love them. What was supposed to be clever quickly became inconvenient. And yet the Corvair 95 wasn't a joke. It was sold commercially. It was used by contractors, utilities, and small businesses. It worked, just not the way people expected a truck to work. That's what makes it strange. The Chevrolet Corvair 95 pickup wasn't built by accident. It was built by engineers who believed trucks could be reimagined, even if drivers weren't ready to agree. Ranked 6th, Dodge Airflow truck. By the late 1930s, engineers had already discovered something most buyers weren't ready to accept. The future wasn't boxy. Dodge had watched aircraft designers reshape planes around airflow, drag, and efficiency. So they asked a dangerous question for the trucking world at the time. What if a truck followed the same rules? The result was the Dodge Airflow truck. Its rounded nose, curved windshield, and flowing body lines looked nothing like the rigid, squared-off trucks American drivers trusted. It didn't look strong. It didn't look familiar. To many buyers, it didn't even look like a truck. Technically, Dodge was right. The airflow reduced wind resistance, improved stability at speed, and hinted at better fuel efficiency, ideas decades ahead of their time. But perception mattered more than physics. Truck buyers didn't want streamlined. They wanted something that looked tough, mechanical, and predictable. The airflow felt too soft, too strange, too modern. Sales were slow, fleets stayed away, and the design vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. What makes the Dodge Airflow truck strange isn't that it failed. It's that it was correct too early. Years later, nearly every modern truck would quietly adopt the same aerodynamic principles, just without admitting where they came from. Ranked 5th, Mack cruise liner. In the 1970s, most American semi-trucks still looked like machines built for the past. Flat fronts, sharp edges, zero concern for airflow or driver comfort. Mack decided that had to change. The cruise liner arrived looking like it had slipped out of the future. Its sloped windshield, integrated body lines, and smoothed edges were designed to cut through air, not fight it. For the first time, a heavy truck wasn't just engineered for strength, it was engineered for efficiency. Inside, the thinking went even further. The cab focused on ergonomics, visibility, and long-haul comfort at a time when drivers were still expected to endure noise, vibration, and fatigue as part of the job. Mack wasn't just redesigning a truck. They were redesigning how a driver lived inside it. But innovation comes with a price. The cruise liner was expensive to build, complex to maintain, and unfamiliar to fleets that valued simplicity above all else. Parts weren't cheap, repairs weren't quick, and conservative buyers hesitated. So while the cruise liner performed well on the road, it never became mainstream. That's what makes it strange. Not because it didn't work, but because it arrived with ideas the industry wasn't ready to pay for yet. Today, many of its design principles feel normal. In the 1970s, they felt radical. Ranked 4th, Diamond T980. Most trucks are built to move cargo. The Diamond T980 was built to move war. Developed during World War II, this machine wasn't designed for highways or loading docks. It was designed to haul tanks, massive armored vehicles weighing tens of tons, across rough terrain, broken roads, and active war zones. And it looked the part. The Diamond T980 was enormous, long, and brutally overbuilt. Its proportions felt almost wrong, like a truck stretched and reinforced beyond anything civilian life would ever require. Paired with a heavy trailer, it looked less like a vehicle and more like a moving piece of military infrastructure. Under the skin, everything prioritized strength over comfort. Low speeds, huge torque, minimal concern for efficiency or elegance. Drivers didn't operate it so much as command it. What makes the Diamond T980 strange isn't that it was impractical. In its world, it was perfectly logical. What's strange is seeing a truck designed for total war existing alongside civilian vehicles of the same era. While others carried groceries or building supplies, this one carried the machines that reshaped entire battlefields. After the war, trucks returned to civilian logic, but the Diamond T980 remains a reminder that for a brief moment, the definition of a truck expanded far beyond anything we'd recognize today. Ranked third, Autocar DC-100. At first glance, the Autocar DC-100 looks like a truck built wrong. The cab isn't centered. The driver doesn't sit behind the engine. Everything is pushed to one side, as if someone made a mistake and never fixed it. But the DC-100 wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate response to a very specific problem: urban delivery. In the 1950s, city routes were tight, crowded, and constant. Drivers were stopping every few minutes, pulling up to curbs, loading docks, and narrow alleys. Visibility mattered more than style, and efficiency mattered more than comfort. By offsetting the cab, Autocar gave drivers a clear view of the curb and sidewalk side of the street. Blind spots were reduced. Dock approaches became easier. Daily routes became faster and safer. From a design standpoint, it was brilliant. From an aesthetic standpoint, it was unsettling. The asymmetry made people uncomfortable. Trucks weren't supposed to look lopsided. They were supposed to look balanced, strong, and predictable. Yet the DC-100 worked. It was used. It earned its place. That's why it belongs this high on the list. The Autocar DC-100 is strange, not because it failed, but because it proved that breaking visual symmetry could actually make a truck better. Ranked second, Peterbilt 352. If you lined up American trucks from the 1950s, most of them followed the same proportions. Short nose, upright cab, everything tightly packed. The Peterbilt 352 ignored that balance entirely. Its hood stretched forward, long, narrow, and unmistakable. So long that drivers jokingly said you needed to plan your turns a block in advance. So narrow it earned the nickname Needle Nose. From the outside, it looked exaggerated. From behind the wheel, it felt even stranger. That long hood wasn't just for looks. It housed large displacement engines, allowed better cooling, and gave mechanics room to work, something earlier trucks desperately lacked. For long-haul drivers pulling heavy loads, the 352 made practical sense. But practicality came with trade-offs. Visibility around tight corners was poor. Urban maneuvering was difficult. And the truck's sheer length made it awkward in places where shorter rigs thrived. Still, drivers loved it. The Peterbilt 352 became a symbol of independence and endurance, built for open roads, not crowded cities. It wasn't optimized for everyone. It was optimized for those who live behind the wheel. What makes it strange isn't that it existed. It's that an industry once accepted a truck so long, so specialized, and so uncompromising as normal. Today it looks extreme. Back then it was freedom on wheels. In first place, GMC Future Liner. The GMC Future Liner doesn't just look strange, it looks impossible. Towering nearly 4 meters tall, painted in bold futuristic colors, and shaped like something from a science fiction serial, it feels less like a truck and more like a moving monument. And yet, this machine worked. Built in the 1950s, the Future Liner was part of General Motors' Parade of Progress, a traveling exhibition meant to show Americans what the future of technology could look like. Instead of hauling cargo, it carried ideas. The sides opened outward to become stages. Inside were displays, demonstrations, and technology showcases. Crowds gathered as if a spaceship had landed in town, because to many people, that's exactly what it felt like. From a technical standpoint, it was still a truck. It drove on public roads. It required skilled operators. It broke down, got repaired, and kept moving from city to city. but visually, nothing about it fit the definition people were used to. That's why it earns the top spot. The GMC Future Liner wasn't strange because it was inefficient or impractical. It was strange because it expanded what a truck was allowed to be. For a brief moment in American history, a truck wasn't just a tool, it was a message. And no one who saw a Future Liner roll by ever forgot it. Truck design has never moved in straight lines. It evolves through experiments, through risks that look strange at first and only make sense years later. Some of the trucks you saw today were abandoned. Others quietly shaped everything that followed. But all of them prove one thing. Progress doesn't always look reasonable when it arrives. If you enjoy uncovering the forgotten side of machinery history, the ideas that almost disappeared, the designs that challenge common sense, make sure you're subscribed. Because the next machine we're covering didn't just change how trucks were built, it forced the entire industry to rethink what was possible.